The special breed. Ben and Zoe had been together for a decade, enjoying a contented life as a couple. Zoe, at 35, was remarkably attractive, with a youthful and vibrant appearance. Ben, a good-looking 40-year-old, kept himself fit. Their relationship was stable and their intimate life, though regular, was unremarkable. Ben, like many, harbored fantasies about his wife being with other men, particularly younger ones who could bring out a different side of her. He found the idea exciting and thought it might add a new dimension to Zoe's happiness. Ben took pride in Zoe's appearance and enjoyed the attention she garnered from others, which boosted his confidence. His daydreams of Zoe embracing a more adventurous lifestyle were rooted in his desire to see her happy. Increasingly consumed by this fantasy, Ben longed to see Zoe embrace this role. However, he was cautious, not wanting to impose or deceive her into something she might not want. He believed the key was to gently introduce the idea to her, gauging her openness to it. Zoe was not shy, but she wasn't overly expressive about her sensuality either. Ben planned to subtly encourage her to explore this side of herself. Zoe was always well-dressed, though not in a particularly alluring manner. Ben began encouraging her to try more figure-accentuating and sophisticated outfits. He took her shopping for chic dresses and sleek, form-fitting office wear like pencil skirts. Ben also introduced more enticing lingerie into their private life, including stylish thongs and matching bras for everyday wear. Zoe took to her new wardrobe with enthusiasm, even choosing to wear the more daring pieces to work beneath her professional attire. Over the months, Zoe grew more comfortable and confident in her new, more fashionable wardrobe. She began choosing bolder clothing on her own, embracing a style that was more eye-catching. Ben also started to introduce spontaneity into their romantic moments, initiating affectionate gestures in unexpected places like the car or while out and about. Their relationship blossomed with this newfound adventurousness, including moments of intimacy outside their usual bedroom setting, such as the living room or kitchen. One memorable evening, after a work event, they even shared a spontaneous moment in the stairwell of the office building. It was clear to Ben that Zoe was embracing her newfound confidence. During an intimate conversation, Ben curiously asked Zoe about her hypothetical choices in partners if they weren't together. Zoe, surprised by the question, playfully mentioned a few celebrities she admired. Planning to further explore this new dynamic, Ben organized a trip to Las Vegas. There, he encouraged Zoe to try a bold and chic dress that was quite a departure from her usual style. Initially hesitant, Zoe was reassured by a sales assistant's compliment and decided to go for it. Their night out in Vegas was filled with fine dining and dancing, embracing the vibrant atmosphere. The following day, Ben surprised Zoe with an elegant bikini from a high-end boutique. Zoe was initially taken aback by the daring design of the bikini, especially its revealing nature. However, Ben reassured her, suggesting they visit an adults-only pool where she would feel more at ease. Zoe, albeit with some hesitation, agreed. At the pool, Zoe's new swimsuit attracted admiring glances, which Ben pointed out to her, commenting on how well she looked. Zoe's journey of self-discovery and confidence in her style was becoming more evident, embraced both by her and Ben. Zoe, amused and slightly flattered by Ben's remark, responded lightheartedly, "Oh, stop it. No one's looking at me like that." Ben playfully insisted, "But they are. You look really attractive." Zoe blushed, secretly pleased with the attention. Ben's comments sparked a curious thought in Zoe's mind, wondering if indeed others saw her in that alluring way. A few weeks later, Ben suggested a playful evening activity. After a dinner out, he proposed a light-hearted game at a nearby bar. The plan was for Zoe to sit alone at the bar, acting as if she were single, while Ben watched from a distance. The idea was for men to approach her, and after a while, Ben would join her, acting as if they were strangers meeting for the first time. Zoe found the idea of being picked up by her own husband amusing and agreed to the game. Ben added a twist: they would keep score. Zoe would earn points for each interaction, 2 points for a conversation and 3 for every drink bought for her. These fun points, as Ben called them, could be redeemed for various treats like a spa day, a new outfit, or even a weekend getaway. Zoe, intrigued by the challenge, agreed but playfully doubted she could gather enough points in one evening, joking about the impracticality of trying to earn so many points so quickly. The game was set, adding a playful and adventurous element to their evening. Ben expanded on their playful game, suggesting they could keep it going beyond just that night. They would tally points for various fun and adventurous clothing choices Zoe made, like wearing chic lingerie or bold outfits. They brainstormed a few ideas and agreed to keep adding to the list as they went along. Zoe was on board with this extended game. After leaving the restaurant, they headed to the bar next door. Zoe settled at the bar while Ben chose a high-top table further back. Soon, a man approached Zoe, engaging her in conversation and buying her a drink. After he left, another man came by, also chatting and buying her drinks. True to their plan, Ben joined Zoe at the bar later, pretending they were strangers. They engaged in playful conversation, keeping up the act. After a while, they decided to head home, where they shared a passionate and exhilarating moment, fueled by the excitement of their evening. Afterwards, they reflected on the game. Zoe enjoyed it, finding the experience fun and different. They calculated her points from the night, counting the interactions and drinks, plus an extra point for Zoe's bold choice in lingerie. Ben initially questioned her math, but Zoe playfully insisted on her tally, including her lingerie point. They shared a laugh, enjoying the lighthearted and adventurous twist their evening had taken. Several weeks later, Ben and Zoe were at a friend's house for a dinner party. Post-dinner, everyone gathered in the basement game room. The host suggested a twist for the evening, a friendly game of strip poker. The idea was met with a mix of excitement and hesitation among the guests. Zoe expressed her reservations, noting her lack of skill in card games. The host lightened the mood by joking that no one wanted an expert in strip poker, which elicited laughter from everyone. Zoe, still unsure, confided in Ben, expressing her discomfort with the idea, especially given the presence of younger guests. Ben reassured her, emphasizing her attractiveness, but also stressing that they didn't have to join if she wasn't comfortable. Zoe didn't want to seem unadventurous and decided to participate. To add a fun element, Ben playfully offered Zoe extra points in their ongoing game for joining in. With a laugh, Zoe agreed. Ben then signaled their willingness to join the game, and the host began explaining the rules of their light-hearted strip poker game. To ensure fairness in the game, the host established that everyone should start with 5 items of clothing. They were instructed to adjust their clothing count if they were wearing more. The rules of the game were straightforward. Each player would ante up an item of clothing for each hand, starting with less significant items and progressing to more personal ones. The card play involved 5 cards per person, with opportunities to exchange some cards during the round. The player with the worst hand at the end of each round would lose the clothing item they had wagered. Once an item was lost, it couldn't be regained, and the game would continue until someone had no clothing left. The final twist was a light-hearted lap around the table for the player who lost their last item, adding a humorous element to the game. There were initial questions about the rules, especially from a guest wearing a dress. The host clarified that each piece of the dress, undergarments, and shoes collectively counted as 5 items. As the game began, the host created a dramatic atmosphere by dimming the lights, leaving only the table brightly illuminated. The mood was light and playful, with everyone laughing at the theatrical setting. Zoe, initially apprehensive, found relief in not losing early rounds. She eventually lost her shoes but maintained a good spirit throughout the game. She wore a shirt, skirt, bra, panties, and shoes, which were her 5 items. As the game progressed, Zoe found herself enjoying the experience, relieved to be far from the last place. The atmosphere was lively, with playful banter and cheers as the game unfolded, building a sense of camaraderie among the guests. The women and men each rooted for their respective groups, creating a fun and engaging environment for all. During the game, one of the male players was the first to finish. His lap around the table, accompanied by a modest round of applause, lightened the mood. The next to go was a woman, who after completing her lap, handed her garment to Zoe, who had won that round. Zoe felt a sense of achievement, and was relieved she wasn't the first among the women to reach that point. The group clapped supportively as she sat back down. Soon after, it was Ben's turn. He completed his lap, humorously handing his garment to the host, who playfully tossed it away. The game narrowed down to Zoe, the host, and another man. Zoe, now in her undergarments, managed to knock out the host, earning cheers from the other women and a second trophy. The host's lighthearted comment on Zoe's unexpected success added to the fun atmosphere. As the game continued, Zoe's winning streak ended, and she had to remove her bra. The group's reactions were mixed but playful, with Zoe maintaining her modesty. The host's teasing comment was met with Zoe's witty retort, causing laughter all around. Another woman supported Zoe's choice, emphasizing the fun and respectful nature of the game. The final round was filled with excitement. Zoe balanced her modesty with the need to participate in the game. When it was revealed that she had lost, she gracefully accepted her turn to complete the lap, removing her last garment while seated. As she walked around the table, her initial hesitation was replaced with a sense of enjoyment and camaraderie. The fact that almost everyone was in a similar state of undress, with only the winner remaining slightly clothed, added to the comfortable and jovial atmosphere of the game. As Zoe neared completing her lap around the table, the winner playfully reminded her about his trophy. Responding with a smirk, Zoe amusingly flicked her garment across the table towards him like a slingshot, eliciting laughter and cheers from the group. Continuing her walk, the host announced, "Let's give a round of applause for our runner-up, the charming and graceful Zoe." The room burst into applause and whistles, celebrating her sportiveness. Zoe, reaching her chair, responded with a playful curtsy before sitting down. The group lingered a while longer, finishing their drinks and chatting before dressing and preparing to leave. Reflecting on the evening, Ben felt everything had unfolded wonderfully, almost as if it were planned. He had mentioned the idea of strip poker to the host, but the night's outcome was entirely spontaneous. Back at home, Ben and Zoe moved to their bedroom, still energized from the evening's events. In a moment of intimacy, Ben asked Zoe if she enjoyed the night. Zoe enthusiastically confirmed that she had a great time, surprised by how much fun it was. Ben complimented her, sharing that others had also admired her appearance, mentioning even Amy's complimentary remarks. Zoe, somewhat taken aback, remarked on Amy's youth and fitness, highlighting the contrast between them. Ben remarked, I know, but that's what she told me. I'm not making this up. And it's true. Zoe had a wide grin on her face. They then shared a passionate, intimate moment together. A few nights later, Zoe and Ben were in their bedroom. Ben suggested, come sit on the bed with me. Let's watch some videos together. They had previously watched adult content together a couple of times, though it had been a while. Zoe agreed, and Ben set up his laptop between them, browsing for videos. He selected a few, observing Zoe's reactions to each. The videos varied, with different scenarios and couples. Each one seemed to intrigue them in its own way. After about 20 minutes, they both felt a surge of affection and excitement. Ben then pushed the laptop aside, leaving a video playing in the background as they became more intimate. Weeks later, Zoe was away on a business trip. She decided to extend her stay for leisure, and Ben joined her to spend some quality time together. They enjoyed a night out, having dinner and visiting bars. On their way back to the hotel one evening, they stopped at a traffic light near a strip club. The sign announced an amateur strip-off. Ben, in a playful tone, suggested that Zoe could easily win the contest. Zoe, puzzled, asked, win what? Pointing to the sign, Ben clarified, and Zoe, reading it, laughed and responded, you are funny. Ben playfully insisted, no, really, you'd be great at it. After returning to their hotel, they enjoyed a drink at the hotel bar. Ben then suggested, let's check out that club we saw earlier. Zoe, curious, asked, which club? Ben explained, the one hosting the dance contest. Zoe was surprised and asked, really? Yes, Ben urged, I think you should give it a try. Zoe hesitated, I'm not comfortable with that. I don't even know how to dance like that. Ben reassured her, it's just about having fun with the music. No one we know will be there. Why not give it a shot? Zoe was unsure, but Ben encouraged her, let's just go and watch. It's early, and you can see how the others do it. Think of it as a daring adventure. But if you're not up for it, that's totally okay. After a moment of thought, Zoe agreed, all right, we can go and watch for a bit. But I'm not committing to anything just yet. Leaving the hotel bar, they made their way to the club. Settling at a table near the stage, they watched 3 performers dance. Ben commented, see, the dance isn't that hard. It's all about moving with the music and enjoying the stage. Zoe was hesitant, it seems simple, but I'm not comfortable with being so exposed in front of strangers. Ben encouraged her, you're amazing just the way you are. It's all in good fun. They continued watching, and at 8:45, the DJ announced the last call for the dance contest. Ben looked at Zoe, what do you think? Zoe was uncertain, are you sure it's a good idea? Ben reassured her, absolutely. You'll have a great time. Feeling bold, Zoe finished her drink and went to sign up. The DJ explained the rules, 1 song, with some attire remaining. When asked to choose a song, Zoe left it up to the DJ and chose the stage name Skylar on a whim. Returning to her table, Zoe watched the other participants, feeling a bit more confident as the crowd cheered them on. Then came her turn. The DJ called, Skylar, you're up next. Nervous but excited, Zoe told Ben, that's my cue. Here goes nothing. Ben smiled, you're going to do wonderfully. Good luck. Zoe chuckled at Ben's encouragement as she made her way to the stage. Following the previous performer, the DJ introduced her as Skylar, and the music began. Zoe stepped onto the stage with confidence. She started by playfully dancing around, then removed her dress, tossing it aside, which drew loud cheers from the audience. This reaction boosted Zoe's confidence. Continuing her dance, Zoe then removed her bra, greeted by even more cheers and applause. She was enjoying the positive response from the crowd. Zoe tried a few more moves, like spinning around the pole and lying on her back with creative leg movements. Each action was met with enthusiastic cheers. For her finale, she danced on her hands and knees, facing the audience, which drew more applause. As her performance ended, Zoe received a loud round of applause. The DJ then called all contestants back to the stage. Wearing only their undergarments, they lined up as the DJ invited the crowd to vote by applause. Zoe's applause was the loudest, and she was declared the winner. After getting dressed backstage, Zoe returned to Ben. He greeted her with a smile. See, I knew you'd win. Did you enjoy it? Zoe nodded. Yes, but I think it's time to leave. They collected Zoe's prize and headed back to their hotel room. Once in their room, they began to express their affection for each other. Ben complimented her. You were amazing up there. Zoe replied, I'm glad you think so. Ben remarked, every man in there was definitely impressed by you. Zoe was skeptical. I'm not so sure about that. Ben assured her, I am. Seeing them all admiring you, it was quite a sight. Zoe questioned, weren't you bothered by them seeing me like that? Ben shook his head, not at all. It was interesting. Haven't you ever thought about being admired by someone else? Zoe replied honestly, no, not really. Ben confessed, I've thought about it. Surprised, Zoe asked, you have? Yes, Ben said, imagining someone else appreciating you. Zoe was puzzled. You mean you'd be okay with me being admired by someone else? Ben nodded, yes. I like seeing you happy and appreciated. It's about you enjoying yourself. I want you to feel fulfilled and content in every way. Thinking about you being admired by others is just a part of that. It's about letting you explore and enjoy different experiences. Zoe considered his words. I see your point, though it's still a bit unusual to me. Do you ever think about being with someone else? Ben reassured her, it's just about enhancing your happiness. I'd only consider being with someone else if you really wanted that. Does that make sense? Zoe nodded. Yeah, I get it. It's just a lot to take in, your thoughts about me being admired by others. Ben expressed, if it's something that would make you happy, I'm open to it. They then shared a tender moment, which seemed to be particularly passionate for Ben, possibly fueled by the evening's events. A couple of weeks later, back at their home, Ben prepared a surprise for Zoe. She arrived from work to find a makeshift spa in a spare room, complete with candles and soft music. Ben offered, how about a relaxing massage at spa to Ben? Zoe was delighted, of course. She undressed and lay down on the massage table. Ben handed her a padded blindfold, adding a playful touch to the massage. Zoe, intrigued, commented, seems like this will be an interesting massage. Ben began, using warm oil and skillfully massaging her. His touches were gentle and teasing, adding a hint of sensuality to the massage. After some time, he asked Zoe to turn over, continuing the massage on her front side, interspersed with soft kisses. As he massaged her feet, Ben subtly secured satin ties around her ankles, attaching them to the table. Zoe noticed, this is turning into quite an adventurous massage. Ben maintained the massage, gradually tying her wrists as well, ensuring her comfort throughout. As he continued, Zoe suddenly felt another pair of hands. Startled and confused, she tried to sit up. Ben quickly tried to calm her, just relax. But Zoe, feeling uneasy, protested, wait, what's happening? Ben softly repeated, just relax, as Zoe began to voice her concerns. He gently reassured her, focusing on creating a relaxing and enjoyable experience. Zoe, initially startled by the unexpected sensation, slowly began to unwind and let go of her hesitation. Ben had arranged for his friend Steve to join in providing Zoe with a special massage experience. While Steve continued to massage Zoe's legs, Ben carefully attended to her comfort and relaxation, ensuring that she felt at ease. The massage was focused on creating a soothing and pleasurable atmosphere, with Ben and Steve working in tandem to provide a comprehensive and relaxing experience. They paid careful attention to Zoe's responses, making sure she was comfortable and enjoying the session. As the massage progressed, Zoe found herself immersed in the sensation, gradually letting go of any initial apprehension. The session was skillfully orchestrated to provide a deeply relaxing and enjoyable experience, with both Ben and Steve attending to Zoe's comfort. After the session concluded and Steve discreetly left the room, Ben gently untied Zoe, allowing her to remove her blindfold. As he untied her feet, Zoe, still in the haze of relaxation, asked about the additional presents. Ben simply replied, just a helper, keeping the focus on the relaxing and positive experience they had shared. Zoe implored, please, you've got to tell me. Ben simply said, no. Zoe prodded further, you're really not going to reveal who it was. Ben responded with a smirk, nope, that's my little secret. But did you like it? Zoe, a bit hesitant, admitted, not really. Ben, teasingly, questioned, are you sure? It seemed like you did. Zoe confessed, maybe a bit. But I'm upset with you for arranging something like that without telling me. I can't believe you did that. Ben insisted, but you did find some enjoyment in it. Zoe shot back, that's not the issue here. Ben countered, actually, the whole idea was for you to have a good time. Zoe ended the conversation with a dismissive whatever and left the room in a huff. By the following day, it was apparent to Ben that Zoe had moved past her annoyance. Weeks later, as Zoe and Ben were preparing for an evening out, Ben brought up, how about we try another fun activity tonight? Zoe, curious, asked, what are you thinking? Ben suggested, how about something like our last bar game? Dress up nicely, let people chat you up and engage with them while I watch from a distance. For the game, you'll earn points for each drink someone offers you, and for every engaging conversation you have, just like before. But this time, you'll also get points for each phone number you collect. Zoe questioned, you want me to collect phone numbers? Ben nodded, yes, it'll be entertaining. Zoe agreed, okay, I suppose. As they prepared for their night out, Ben said, here, I got you a little something. He handed Zoe a small wrapped gift. Inside, Zoe found an ankle bracelet with unique charms, one female symbol and two male symbols. Zoe remarked, it's beautiful, but I've never seen these symbols on a bracelet like this. What do they represent? Ben explained, it's a special anklet. It's a symbol that you're married but open to socializing with others. Zoe hesitated, you want me to wear this tonight? Ben encouraged, yes, it's a stylish accessory. Zoe responded, Ben, I'm still trying to understand this whole idea. It's a bit much for me. Ben reassured her, it's just an anklet. Most people won't recognize its meaning. Think of it like wearing something that makes you feel confident and good about yourself, even if it's not visible to everyone else. Zoe agreed, all right. Ben explained, wearing the anklet is just like that. It's a symbol, but most won't understand it. It's about feeling confident. He paused, then added, remember, it's just an accessory. You don't have to do anything you're uncomfortable with. Do you want to try it on? Zoe responded hesitantly, I suppose. Ben then fastened the anklet around Zoe's ankle. Before leaving, Ben playfully suggested, "How about you leave a piece of your clothing behind tonight? He could add a bit of excitement." Zoe laughed. "Ben, you're always full of surprises." Acknowledging her response, Ben smiled. "I know." Zoe left the item on the bed, and they headed out. At the first bar, a man soon joined Zoe, offering to buy her a drink. They engaged in light conversation, and Zoe was charming. After an hour, she politely asked for his phone number, which he gave. She then rejoined Ben, and they moved on to another venue. By the end of the night, after visiting several bars, Zoe had collected a few phone numbers and had enjoyed conversations with several people. Back home, Ben and Zoe were energized by their night out. They shared an intimate and passionate moment in their bedroom, reflecting on the excitement of the evening. Afterward, they lay together contentedly. Ben, still in the playful mood, asked, "So, with all the points you earned, what's your plan? Maybe a new outfit or a weekend getaway?" Zoe pondered, "I'm not sure yet. Maybe I'll treat myself to something special, or we could plan a little trip." A week later, during an intimate moment, Ben curiously inquired, "Have you ever thought about other romantic possibilities?" Zoe didn't respond immediately, prompting Ben to repeat his question. Zoe finally said, "Yes, I've thought about it a bit." Ben encouraged her to share, "Tell me more about it." As they talked, Ben gently asked if she imagined different types of affection and attention, comparing it to their own interactions. Their conversation flowed as they were intimately close, leading to a shared moment of intense connection. Weeks later, in a relaxed moment, Ben broached the topic again. "Have you considered more about exploring new social experiences?" Zoe replied with uncertainty, "A bit, but I'm still unsure." Ben suggested, "What if you start small? Maybe you could have dinner with someone from our bar game. It's just a meal, nothing more. You still have their contacts, right?" Zoe confirmed, "Yes, I've kept them." Encouraged by her response, Ben continued, "Wouldn't it be nice to dress up and enjoy a dinner out? There must have been someone you felt a connection with." Zoe paused, then admitted, "Perhaps." Ben asked gently, "If you were to choose, who would it be?" Zoe responded, "I suppose Brad." Ben checked, "He's aware you're married, right?" Zoe answered, "I think so. I had my ring on." Ben noted, and he was still interested. "Why not send him a message? Say I'm away and ask if he'd like to have dinner." With a bit of persuasion from Ben, Zoe agreed, "All right, but just dinner, nothing more." She sent a message to Brad, who quickly responded with interest. Zoe arranged to meet him for dinner later that week. On the evening of Zoe's dinner, as she was preparing, Ben called from the bedroom, "Zoe, I've got a surprise for you. Come and see." Entering the bedroom, Zoe found a gift box. Inside, she discovered a sleek, elegant black dress. "Is this the one we saw at the mall last weekend?" she asked. "Yes," Ben replied. "You looked fantastic in it, and I knew you liked it." Zoe was taken aback, but it was so pricey. Ben reassured her, "You're worth it, and there's more." Zoe then found a set of sophisticated black lingerie, complete with a bra, thong, and silk stockings. Zoe was astonished. "Ben, this is too much." Ben smiled, "I just wanted you to feel special tonight." Zoe playfully remarked, "Seems like you're more thrilled about this evening than I am." Ben inquired, feeling excited. Zoe shared, "It's been a mix. I've wavered between calling it off and feeling thrilled. But now, I'm genuinely excited. It's been so long since I've had a first date." Ben suggested, "Try on the lingerie." Zoe changed into the delicate silk thong and bra. She then picked up the garter belt, and Ben offered, "Let me help." He gently wrapped it around her waist and fastened it. Ben carefully assisted Zoe with the stockings, ensuring they were perfectly in place. Zoe couldn't help but laugh. "Ben, you're really getting into this." Ben grinned, "Absolutely." After he finished attaching the stockings, he stood back to admire, "You look wonderful. Do you feel good?" Zoe replied with a smile, "I do. Thanks, love." She then dressed in the elegant black dress and heels, asking, "How do I look?" Ben was impressed, "Absolutely stunning." Zoe thanked him and added, "I'll text you with updates and let you know when I'm heading back. I'll be just having dinner." Ben agreed, "Of course, just dinner. Maybe invite him in for a drink when you're back, if it feels right." Zoe replied, "We'll see how the evening unfolds." She ordered a ride share, and soon after, the car arrived. Ben wished her a fun night as Zoe left for her date. At the restaurant, it was bustling. Zoe met Brad in the foyer, learning they had a bit of a wait for their table. They decided to grab a drink at the bar. After being seated, Zoe found herself enjoying Brad's company, despite the unusual circumstances of the date. Midway through dinner, she excused herself to use the restroom and sent Ben a quick update, to which he replied, encouraging her to enjoy the evening. After dinner, Zoe asked Brad for a lift home. Arriving at her driveway, she hesitated before inviting Brad in for a drink. He accepted, and they settled on the couch with their drinks. As they chatted, Brad leaned in for a kiss, catching Zoe by surprise. She hadn't planned on things escalating, but she found herself responding to his advances. The kiss deepened, and Brad's hands began to explore over her dress, which Zoe found surprisingly enjoyable. Feeling a mix of excitement and hesitation, Zoe was on the verge of slowing things down when Brad's touch became more intimate. Overwhelmed by a sudden rush of desire, Zoe found her resolve shifting dramatically. What began as a tentative encounter was quickly evolving into a moment of intense passion. Brad's caresses continued as their kiss deepened, heightening Zoe's excitement. In a bold move, Brad encouraged Zoe to taste the excitement of their encounter, which Zoe found unexpectedly thrilling and a bit daring. After this intimate moment, Brad began to assist Zoe out of her dress, but she playfully insisted on doing it herself. Standing up, she gracefully let her dress fall to the floor, revealing her elegant lingerie. The thrill of showing off her attire to Brad was exhilarating for Zoe. She asked, "Do you like what you see?" Brad, clearly impressed, responded with a definite yes. Zoe then suggested, "Shall we move to the bedroom?" Brad agreed, and they proceeded upstairs. As Zoe led the way, Ben discreetly positioned himself in a nearby room, curious but respecting their privacy. In the bedroom, Zoe and Brad continued their embrace. Zoe unbuttoned Brad's shirt, and they shared a tender moment. Brad then helped Zoe, gently admiring her. They resumed their intimate embrace, their connection deepening with each moment. Zoe then gracefully knelt down to assist Brad out of his remaining clothes. Standing before her, Zoe found herself unexpectedly captivated and eager to explore further. She gently engaged in a more intimate act, finding a newfound enthusiasm and pleasure in the experience. Zoe continued to engage intimately with Brad for a few more minutes. Eventually, Brad helped Zoe up and had her lay on the bed. He then proceeded to undress her further. Zoe positioned herself comfortably as Brad moved closer, showing her affection in a very intimate manner. Zoe felt a rush of excitement and pleasure from Brad's attentions. Resting on her elbows, Zoe observed Brad attentively. She was overwhelmed by the intensity of the moment, feeling waves of ecstasy. It had been a long time since she had felt such desire and passion. Zoe knew she wanted to be even closer to Brad. Zoe then gently guided Brad's attention away from her, and they came face to face. She leaned in for a passionate kiss, feeling a heightened sense of excitement. After the kiss, Zoe expressed her desire to take their intimacy further. Brad responded to Zoe's request. As they became more intimate, Zoe was enveloped in a wave of pleasure. She expressed her enjoyment openly, which was unusual for her, but the intensity of the moment with Brad brought out a new side of her. Zoe's vocal expressions of pleasure encouraged Brad to be more passionate. Zoe found herself overwhelmed by the intensity of the experience, expressing her feelings loudly. The moment was intense and passionate, unlike anything she had experienced before. Brad's intensity only grew, and Zoe's reactions became more expressive. She was completely caught up in the moment, feeling a sense of release that was new and exhilarating. Once the intense moment passed, Zoe, catching her breath, suggested a change in their approach. Brad obliged, and Zoe took the lead, enjoying the feeling of control and the continued closeness with Brad. The experience was deeply satisfying for Zoe, marking a significant and memorable moment in her life. Zoe continued her intimate engagement with Brad for several minutes before changing their position. She chose a new angle that allowed her to feel even more in control and focus solely on her own sensations. Placing her hands in a relaxed posture, Zoe moved with increased energy and enthusiasm. She felt exhilarated by the sense of control and the intensity of their connection. Her movements became more dynamic as she immersed herself in the experience. Caught in a wave of intense emotion, Zoe's thoughts were solely on the pleasure she was experiencing. She was completely absorbed in the moment, wanting to prolong the feeling of ecstasy. As their intimate moment intensified, Zoe expressed her enjoyment freely. She was overwhelmed by the sensations, culminating in a powerful moment of release. After this intense experience, Zoe took a moment to relax beside Brad. Breaking the silence, she expressed a desire to continue their closeness. Zoe then showed her affection in a very personal way, enjoying the intimate connection they shared. Feeling rejuvenated, Zoe voiced her desire for a more passionate encounter. Brad responded to her request, and they continued their intimate moments with increased vigor. Zoe was vocal in expressing her pleasure, guiding Brad to meet her desires. Their passionate interaction continued, with Zoe and Brad exploring different ways to be close. Each moment was filled with intensity and mutual enjoyment. Zoe, fully immersed in the experience, expressed her feelings openly, leading to another profound moment of connection. Throughout this deeply intimate and passionate encounter, Zoe and Brad shared a series of intense and memorable moments, marking a significant chapter in their relationship. Brad and Zoe continued their intimate moment together. As the intensity grew, Brad expressed a specific desire to Zoe. Zoe, open to exploring new experiences, agreed to Brad's request. In response, Brad intensified his actions briefly before changing their position. He then took a moment to focus on himself, directing his attention towards Zoe in a way she had not experienced before, even with her past partners. As Brad reached the peak of his excitement, Zoe watched with a mix of curiosity and anticipation. Brad's moment of climax was intense, with Zoe feeling a new and different sensation as a result. After their intense encounter, Brad relaxed beside Zoe on the bed. Zoe then took a moment to clean herself up in the bathroom, reflecting briefly on the new experience. She returned to the bedroom and began to undress more comfortably, removing her stockings and garter belt. Brad and Zoe then shared a moment of casual conversation, acknowledging the enjoyment of their experience. Zoe helped Brad gather his clothes, and they exchanged farewells at the front door. After Brad left, Zoe's thoughts returned to normalcy. She immediately sought out Ben, feeling a sudden need to apologize for something, though it wasn't immediately clear what for. Ben, confused, asked why Zoe felt the need to apologize, prompting a conversation between them. Zoe asked Ben if he had overheard her earlier, to which Ben responded affirmatively, noting that their neighbors might have as well. Zoe expressed remorse, acknowledging that she had acted in a way that was out of character for her. She apologized for the intensity of her expressions and the novel aspects of her behavior with the other person, aspects she had never explored before. Ben inquired why Zoe felt the need to apologize. Zoe explained her concerns about her loud expressions and the new experiences she had indulged in, experiences they hadn't shared together. She was surprised by this newfound side of herself and wondered if Ben felt upset or jealous. To her surprise, Ben wasn't upset. He asked if she had enjoyed herself. Zoe admitted she did, but felt guilty that she had never expressed such intense pleasure with Ben. Ben reassured her, expressing that he was happy she experienced such pleasure. He had hoped the experience would be gratifying for her, a sentiment that surprised Zoe. Zoe, reflecting on this, asked if Ben was truly okay with what had happened. Ben confirmed he was. He then inquired if the experience was as Zoe had expected. Zoe admitted it wasn't. She hadn't planned on being intimate with the other person that night. However, she described a moment of sudden change when her partner touched her, which unleashed a passionate, uninhibited side of herself. She emphasized that her actions were driven by a deep, primal urge for pleasure, a feeling she hadn't been aware of before. Ben asked, "Did you enjoy what happened?" Zoe responded, "Yes, I did. I was uncertain at first, but it turned out to be a positive experience." Ben queried, "Would you consider doing it again?" Zoe answered, "If it's something you desire, then yes, I would." Ben expressed, "I do want that. It was exciting." Zoe questioned, "So, you're okay with me continuing this?" Ben confirmed, "Yes, I am." Zoe asked further, "Anytime I choose?" Ben agreed, "Yes." Zoe continued, "In any way I wish." Ben affirmed, "Definitely." Zoe inquired, "At any place?" Ben said, "Yes, but with one condition." Zoe asked, "And what is that?" Ben stated, "You need to share the details with me afterward, especially if I'm not there." Zoe replied, "So, I can be with anyone, anytime, in any way, and anywhere, as long as I tell you about it later." Ben confirmed, "Yes." Zoe said, "I can do that, if it's what you want." Ben expressed, "As long as you're happy, I am too." Zoe inquired, "Could you see us from the office? Did you like watching?" Ben replied, "I did. I had a good view from the office. I moved upstairs when you went to the bedroom and was just across the hall. I couldn't see, but I could hear everything. It was quite an experience." Afterward, they returned upstairs and went to bed. Zoe fell asleep immediately, and Ben soon followed. The next morning, they woke up feeling rejuvenated. In the following weeks, Ben noticed Zoe's growing confidence. She continued to dress elegantly and seemed more aware and appreciative of the attention she received from others. A month later, when Zoe had a work trip scheduled, Ben suggested, "Why don't you extend your stay after your work is done? I've been exploring some fun activities there. I could fly up on Friday to join you." Zoe queried, "What's there to do?" Ben explained, "I found a party happening that said a night that could be interesting. What do you think?" He showed her the flyer he found online, detailing a local social gathering. Zoe read the invitation, "Elegant evening soirée." Location, a private estate just outside the city. Open to couples and singles. Prior reservations and club membership required. Address shared upon reservation confirmation. Dress code, formal attire for gentlemen, white attire for ladies, with heels suggested. Changing area and storage for belongings available. No electronic devices permitted. Zoe turned to Ben, "Are you interested in attending this event?" Ben replied, "It could be a unique experience. We can dress up, enjoy a nice dinner, and then attend the soirée to socialize. Perhaps we'll meet someone interesting." Zoe said, "That does sound enjoyable. I'm on board if you are." Ben agreed and proceeded to apply for the event. His application was accepted, and he arranged for their participation and travel. On the evening of the soirée, Ben and Zoe dressed elegantly and dined at a high-end restaurant. Afterward, they headed to the event. At the entrance, they were welcomed and briefed about the house rules, ensuring they didn't carry any electronic devices. The hostess directed Zoe to a changing area, where Zoe opted for a minimalist white attire, leaving her other clothes neatly stored. Rejoining Ben, they explored the venue, engaging in conversations with various guests. However, Zoe didn't quite connect with anyone they met. Eventually, Zoe and Ben decided to leave the event, and Zoe changed back into her clothes. They returned to their hotel, content with their evening out. As they lay together on the bed, Zoe, positioned above Ben, asked, "Did you enjoy showing me off at the party tonight, with everyone's eyes on me?" Ben answered, "I did. I liked seeing them appreciate your beauty. It was exciting." "Did you enjoy the attention?" Zoe replied, "Absolutely. I felt really special with you showcasing me like that, and I loved the attention. Are you thinking about me with someone else right now?" Ben responded, "That would be intriguing. What would that look like? Zoe elaborated, I'd be close to him, maintaining eye contact, fully engaged in the moment. Ben said, that does sound captivating. And then what? Zoe continued, I would be as close to him as I am to you now. Ben remarked, that sounds quite intense. As Zoe spoke, she became more animated, her voice filling with excitement. Imagine if I were by the window, with the city lights behind me. She paused briefly, then added, feeling the energy of the moment. Ben replied, that would be quite a sight. Zoe, moving more energetically, said, or picture me near the desk, completely in the moment. Their conversation continued, each sharing their thoughts and feelings, deeply immersed in their connection. Ben said with enthusiasm, absolutely. Breathlessly, Zoe added, he would be close, and I'd watch the intensity in his eyes. She paused, then continued with excitement. As she spoke, she experienced a strong wave of emotion. Her intense reaction triggered a similar response in Ben. Exhausted, Zoe lay beside Ben on the bed. Once they regained their composure, Ben asked, are you okay that we didn't connect with anyone at the party? Zoe replied, initially, a little, but now I'm just happy to be here with you. Ben agreed, me too. They soon drifted off to sleep. Weeks later, Zoe was away for a work conference. Ben, wanting to surprise her, secretly packed a stylish, baby blue teddy in her suitcase. It was an elegant piece, high-cut with a playful design. That night, Zoe called Ben from her hotel. I found your surprise. Ben said, I thought it would make you feel special while you're away. Do you like it? Zoe responded, yes, I'm wearing it now. Ben replied, I wish I could see you in it. Zoe shared, I'm pretending you're here with me. They continued their conversation, each engaging in a vivid imagination of being together. They concluded their call feeling connected and soon fell asleep. During Zoe's trip, she and Ben would have nightly conversations after dinner. Around 9:30 p.m. on the fourth night, Ben received a surprising text from Zoe, accompanied by several photos of her and the teddy. Her message playfully asked, how many sexy points do I get for this? Ben browsed through the photos, some self-portraits and others full-length shots of her on the bed. Shortly after, another photo arrived. It showed Zoe in a provocative pose with a daring look. Her message read, how many points for this? Ben tried to call Zoe, but she didn't answer. She quickly replied with a text saying she was occupied and couldn't talk. 10 minutes later, Zoe sent another text, teasing, how many sexy points for this? This was followed by a photo implying a more intimate situation, hinting at a bold encounter. Ben recognized Zoe in the picture, wearing the teddy. A couple of minutes later, Zoe sent a video clip. It was suggestive, showing Zoe in an intimate act, with the focus on the back of her head. After a short while, another video arrived. This one was more explicit, featuring a close-up of a very intimate moment, with the focus on the blue lingerie. Another video came 10 minutes later, even more explicit than the last, depicting a private encounter from a close-up perspective. Finally, Zoe sent a text asking, how many sexy points for this? Should be a lot. The message indicated a playful yet daring exchange between them. About 10 minutes later, Ben received a call from Zoe. He answered, and Zoe greeted him warmly, hi baby, how are you? Ben responded, I'm good, thanks. Zoe playfully asked, can you guess what I've been up to? Ben replied, I have an idea. Seems like you've been having quite an evening. Zoe inquired, did my messages surprise you? Ben said, yes, they did. They were very intriguing. Tell me more about your night. Zoe explained, I'm glad you liked them. I was in my hotel room and felt a bit adventurous. So, I put on the teddy you got me, which made me feel special. But I wanted a bit more excitement, so I decided to go for a drink, wearing my skirt and blazer over the teddy. I also wore the anklet you gave me. At the bar, a gentleman noticed the anklet and we struck up a conversation. One thing led to another, and you saw the rest. Is it all right with you? Ben assured her, absolutely, as long as you had a good time. Zoe said, I really did. Thanks for the gift, it made the evening special. Ben responded, you're welcome. I was curious about those full-length photos, but then I realized you weren't alone. Zoe replied, yes, it was fun to have someone capture those moments. They continued their conversation for a while before saying goodnight and ending the call. The following evening, Ben received another call from Zoe. He answered with, hi baby, but there was silence on the other end. Wondering if Zoe could hear him, he asked, can you hear me? Still no response. Soon, he heard some noises, initially thinking it was an accidental call. Then, he heard sounds that indicated Zoe was engaged in an enthusiastic activity. After a few minutes, Zoe's voice rang out clearly. Ben, recognizing her voice, knew she was in the midst of an intense experience. The call abruptly ended shortly after. 15 minutes later, Zoe called again. Ben answered, and she cheerfully asked, hi baby, did you like my surprise? Ben replied, I did. Was it the same person from before? Zoe said, no, someone new tonight. Seems you've inspired a new side of me. They both laughed and continued their conversation before ending the call. Zoe returned home the next day. 2 months had passed since Zoe's trip. One evening, Zoe came home looking exceptionally stylish in her work attire, having had a photo session at the office that day. As she entered, she greeted Ben with a casual, hi honey, I'm home. To Ben's surprise, 2 men in work clothes followed her inside. Zoe addressed the men nonchalantly. Don't mind Ben, he's just relaxing. She then told Ben, you might need to sort out dinner on your own tonight, and continued towards the guest room, which was just a short distance from where Ben was seated. The scene suggested Zoe had a bold plan for the evening. Zoe entered the room with the men, closing the door behind them. Ben, who had muted the TV, started to hear various sounds from the guest room. Initially, there was laughter and giggling, indicating a light-hearted atmosphere. Then, for a few moments, it was quiet. After a short period of silence, Ben could faintly hear some noises, suggesting activity in the room. The sounds were followed by a brief pause. Then, Ben heard Zoe's voice, sounding surprised or startled. This was followed by more noises, like something repeatedly hitting against a wall, accompanied by rhythmic sounds. Zoe's voice became more audible, indicating she was experiencing something intense. Her exclamations grew louder and more frequent, culminating in a loud expression of exhilaration. The sounds from the room continued, with the occasional faint noise from the men. After a while, the noises became louder and more intense, followed by audible groans, signifying a climax of some sort. The room then fell quiet for a few minutes, with only some low-level conversation heard, too soft for Ben to discern the words. This was followed by another set of distinct sounds, different from before, and Zoe's voice reacting with surprise or discomfort. The sounds continued, with Zoe's reactions becoming more vocal, though muffled. The intensity seemed to increase over time, leading to a prolonged outcry from Zoe. Following a period of silence, the guest room door opened, and Zoe emerged. Her appearance was noticeably disheveled, with her makeup smeared and her hair untidy, as if she had been through a physically demanding experience. As Zoe passed by Ben in his recliner, she simply said, "Hi," and continued into the kitchen. A moment later, she returned to the guest room, carrying 2 tall glasses of water, without engaging in further conversation with Ben. The door closed behind her, and Ben heard the sound of the lock. For the next 15 minutes, the room was mostly quiet, with occasional murmurs of conversation that Ben couldn't decipher. This quiet was intermittently interrupted by various sounds, but Ben remained seated, listening. After some time, the activity in the guest room wound down, and then the door opened. Zoe emerged, followed by the 2 men. They were dressed and left shortly after Zoe showed them out. When Zoe returned to the living room, she greeted Ben. "Hi, honey. How was your evening?" Ben replied, "It was fine. How about yours?" Zoe responded, "It was quite an experience." Ben expressed interest. "I'd like to hear more." Zoe asked, "Really? You want to know?" "Yes," Ben affirmed. "All right, but let's go upstairs. I'll tell you about it while getting ready for bed." They went upstairs, and Zoe began to shower. From the shower, she recounted her evening to Ben, explaining that her work group finished early and went for drinks downtown. She noticed 2 men at the bar showing interest in her. After her colleagues left, she struck up a conversation with them at the bar, which eventually led to her inviting them home. Zoe inquired, "Are you interested in the specifics?" Ben eagerly replied, "Definitely. Share everything." My mind was filled with curiosity as I tried to picture it all. The sound of the door locking really sparked my imagination. It was thrilling. Zoe began, "Well, initially, we were just getting comfortable with each other. I engaged with them one by one. Then things progressed with each of them. We paused for a bit, and then things got more intense. I remember locking the door because I was so caught up in the moment and didn't want any misunderstandings. I was really letting go." After her shower, she continued sharing parts of her story as they settled into bed. Zoe shared additional details but chose to keep certain aspects private. She wasn't fully prepared to reveal to Ben the extent of her uninhibited experiences. She described a moment of complete abandon but omitted some specifics. Despite knowing Ben's encouragement for her adventurousness, Zoe hesitated to disclose the full extent of her escapades. She was exploring a newfound daring side of herself, relishing the feeling of being so desired and the rush of uninhibited encounters. Weeks later, Zoe returned late from a work dinner to find Ben and another man, a fit individual in his mid to late 20s, in their living room. Greeting them, Zoe asked, "Hello, who's this?" Ben introduced the man, mentioning they had met earlier at a sports bar. He shared with Zoe, "I showed him some of your photos from the work trip, the ones where you looked stunning. He thought you were gorgeous and found the photos very appealing. I jokingly asked if he'd be interested in meeting you, and surprisingly, he was interested. What do you think, Zoe?" Zoe turned to the man, "Did you really like my photos?" The man responded enthusiastically, "Absolutely, the pictures were really attractive." Zoe casually reached behind and unfastened the zipper of her skirt. As her hands moved back to the front, her skirt gracefully dropped to the floor, revealing her elegant black, silk, thigh-high stockings. Underneath her blazer, she wore delicate black lingerie, adding to her sophisticated look. Stepping out of the skirt pooled at her ankles, Zoe methodically unbuttoned her blazer and placed it aside. She stood confidently in the living room, adorned in her stockings, high heels, and matching lingerie set, and inquired, "How do I appear now?" The man replied, "Absolutely stunning, even more so in person." Zoe playfully turned around, showcasing her poised elegance, and took a few steps towards the stairs. "Shall we go upstairs?" she asked. Ben, however, had a different idea. "Actually, let's stay here. I'd like to watch, he suggested. Zoe smiled, intrigued by the idea. A bit adventurous, aren't we? I'm intrigued. As the man approached Zoe, they exchanged a tender kiss. Zoe then turned to Ben. You arranged this. How would you like us to proceed? Ben gave his suggestions, aiming for a more intimate display. Zoe followed his directions, enhancing the intimacy of the moment. She asked, is this to your liking? As the scene unfolded, Zoe occasionally checked with Ben, ensuring the experience was as he envisioned. Ben responded encouragingly, yes, just like that. Zoe continued her intimate interaction with the man, while Ben observed from a side angle. He then suggested, now, show him some more attention. Zoe playfully engaged with the man, occasionally making eye contact with Ben, adding to the connection between them. She alternated her approach as per Ben's suggestion, ensuring to maintain the intensity of the moment. After a while, Zoe paused and looked to Ben. What next? Ben directed, why don't you take the lead now? The man positioned himself comfortably on the floor, and Zoe, with a sense of control, joined him. She expressed her enjoyment to Ben. Oh, this feels incredible. Ben encouraged her, keep going, just like that. Zoe adjusted her movements, increasing the intensity. She expressed her pleasure openly. This feels amazing, Ben. It's really intense. She continued, maintaining a rhythm that was exhilarating for her. Ben, clearly captivated by the scene, encouraged her further. Yes, keep going. You're doing great. Zoe, energized by Ben's words and her own sensations, expressed her escalating excitement. It's incredible, Ben. I'm feeling so much right now. She continued with enthusiasm, fully immersed in the experience. After some time, she announced to Ben, I think I'm reaching a peak. Ben supported her. Go for it, let yourself go. Zoe, driven by the moment, reached a crescendo of emotion, exclaiming, it's happening. It's really happening. Her expression of exhilaration was evident as she experienced a rush of emotions. As she calmed down, she relaxed onto the floor, content and fulfilled after the intense experience. Zoe rested on the floor for a moment, catching her breath. Ben then inquired, are you up for more? Zoe answered, sure, if that's what you'd like. What do you have in mind? Ben suggested, how about you get into a more comfortable position? Zoe moved onto the floor, supporting herself with her hands and knees, and looked towards Ben. Is this okay? Ben confirmed, yes, that's perfect. The man positioned himself behind Zoe and they resumed their intimate connection. Zoe shared her feelings. This is really intense. They continued in this manner for several minutes. Ben then said, increase the intensity. The man responded by engaging more vigorously. Zoe maintained eye contact with Ben, reacting to the heightened energy. She expressed her enjoyment loudly. Ben, this is incredible. I'm really enjoying this. Ben encouraged them, keep the energy up. Zoe, caught up in the moment, exclaimed, Ben, this is overwhelming. It's almost too much. Ben encouraged her, go with it, let yourself feel it. Zoe was deeply engaged in the experience, driven by the dynamic interaction and Ben's encouragement. Ben, it's happening again, she exclaimed. Her body responded intensely to the culmination of the experience, visibly overcome with emotion. The man engaged with Zoe with increased intensity until Ben suggested, Zoe, how about a change of pace? Following Ben's cue, the man paused and stood up, while Zoe positioned herself in front of him. Ben encouraged, express your enthusiasm, Zoe. Zoe conveyed her eagerness to the man. Yes, let's take this to the next level. I'm ready. The man's intensity grew as Zoe continued to encourage him. That's right, keep going. I'm right here with you, she urged. Eventually, the man reached a crescendo, visibly expressing his climax. The culmination of his excitement was evident as Zoe observed with interest. Afterward, Zoe turned to Ben, her face showing the traces of their encounter. How does it look? Is this what you were anticipating? Ben responded with admiration, absolutely. You look incredible. Zoe replied with a smile, I'm glad you think so. She then excused herself, I'll be right back. Zoe went upstairs to freshen up. By the time she returned, the man had departed. Settling next to Ben on the couch, Zoe asked, so, what did you think of the evening? Did it live up to your expectations? Ben answered with enthusiasm, definitely. It was captivating. You were stunning. Did you enjoy it as much as I did? Zoe responded with a smile, I did enjoy it. It was such an exhilarating experience, especially with you watching. It felt really intense and thrilling. Ben expressed his enthusiasm, you were incredible. The whole experience was captivating. Curious, Zoe inquired, which part stood out to you the most? Ben reflected, honestly, every moment. The way you looked at me, your movements, the intensity of your expressions, the sheer excitement on your face. It was all incredibly captivating. They spent some time chatting on the couch, immersed in their conversation. Later, they decided to head to bed. As they settled in, Zoe shared a thought with Ben. Next time, I think it would be even more thrilling if you were more involved, maybe even joining in. How does that sound to you? Ben agreed without hesitation, absolutely. And so, they explored these new experiences together in the future. By comment, in life, the things that we value we protect. We keep them safe, we ensure them, and the more valuable they are the more we keep them to ourselves. People who flaunt their artwork and their vehicles and their jewelry are just insecure and trying to gain attention or prestige or acceptance by their material things. So when you hear about somebody who gives up a spouse or shares a spouse or shows off a spouse, it's actually a good indication there's a mental instability there, or more likely a very selfish and twisted heart that doesn't value the other person as much as their own selfish wants. If somebody treats you like that, kick them to the curb and find somebody that's worthwhile.